All right, so aloha everyone. This is Tasha with ElleLiveAction here to educate, elevate, and advocate for you to get to your next level. And today I have a really awesome guest. I just look at all the stuff she's doing. It looks so cool. And this is Nik with Girls Fight Back. And I just wanted Nik to share a bit more about her, the work she does, give a bit of an intro, and then we'll get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Tasha. It's so great to talk to you and to meet you. This is wonderful. So my name is Nicole. I also go by Nik, and I am a international speaker and a sexual assault prevention educator and a full contact self-defense instructor. I'm also the CEO of Girls Fight Back. I took over the company this year. It was founded in 2001 by Erin Weed, who started it in honor of her friend Shannon McNamara, who was murdered in her off-campus apartment. And Erin wanted to give young women tools to help themselves feel safe and confident and to live their best life. And so she started Girls Fight Back in Shannon's honor to help give people their peace back. And I have been a speaker for the company for about 5 years until I took it over. And it was the right thing to do because I have lived and breathed empowerment and women's empowerment and advocacy for all these years. I wanted to be able to take this company and to continue it forward and to continue Shannon's memory forward, and to continue helping women with these skills that are practical, that are useful, that they can use in all aspects of their life to feel like they can go out and live the life they want. I don't want people to have to limit their life. I want them to be able to live however they want to live, whatever they want to do. I want them to know that they are empowered to be able to do that. And so that's what I do. I'm also a full contact lead instructor for Impact Personal Safety. And since COVID, we obviously are not doing in-person full contact anymore. We're doing online role-playing type of courses. But yeah, in addition to that, I'm also huge into the outdoors, hiking, traveling, adventuring, all those things. And I started a show last year called Outdoor Defense, where I combine my loves of hiking and adventuring and traveling solo with self-defense to help empower people, especially women, to go out and do these things by themselves if that's what they choose.
Awesome. Wow. That's a lot and it's great. I wanted to know, so hiking is your other love. Tell us a little bit more about that.
I grew up in a small town it's called 29 Palms. It's in the desert
Oh, I know where
by
that
Palm
was.
Springs. Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Joshua Tree National Park is right there. There's also a military base. My dad's a retired Marine, so that's how I ended up out there. And from just a very young age, I was always outside. I was collecting rocks. I was catching lizards. I was digging in the dirt. I was just out exploring and just in awe of everything. I just loved to be outside. And as I got older, that passion continued to grow. And I remember visiting my aunt. My aunt lived up in the mountains in the Sierra Nevadas. And we would go to visit her on time to time. And she lives in this house in the mountains, and she's got like property and, up there, they have like, I don't know how many acres, but like a few acres worth, and it's like fenced in. So you could go on a walk around the property and it's fenced in and there's no cars. And, we would go for walks. And I'm young. I'm in, 10 to like 13, and just being outside and oh my gosh, I'm outside, I'm exploring, and oh, what's that plant and what's that bird called? And it just continued to grow. I feel free when I'm outside. I feel so connected to myself and to the world. And it's meditative for me. Some people meditate by actually sitting quietly and meditating. I cannot sit still for my life. So for me, hiking and moving my body and breathing in the air and paying attention to what's around me and being curious about the things that I see and hear while I'm on a hike or on an adventure, it really helps ground me and center me.
That's awesome.
I love it.
So I would imagine since you've done so much hiking, you know the do's and don'ts and different choices that are more helpful for solo hikers. How did you merge the two together when it comes to that pairing and what you love to do?
So I had been thinking about putting them together for a while, and I didn't quite know how to do it. And I felt like, hey, I'm on two separate train tracks, and I have the hiking adventuring track and I have the self-defense track, and they can't intersect. And I kept having, friends and family members telling me, no, you should combine them. You can do both. And I'm like, I don't know if they fit. And then I finally had one friend that just was my kick in the pants motivation. She was like, you just need to do it. Just do it. And I was like, okay, you're right. I'm just going to do it. So I did. And that's how outdoor defense was born. And I guess I didn't expect it to resonate with people so much, that there are so many women that are out there solo hiking already and maybe just want some additional skills. And there's also a lot of women that are not comfortable solo hiking because of fear, because of they're not sure what they would do in different types of situations. And so what I teach them is things that are able to help them get the confidence they need to potentially maybe go out and take their first solo hike. And whenever I get a DM from someone that says, hey, I took my first solo hike today because of your videos, or, I'm going on my first solo hike trip like next week, and I've been watching your videos and they've really helped me, like that is why I do it. That's the only reason why I do it is to help people and to know that what I'm doing is making a difference. When I fell into the self-defense world, it was like a light bulb went on in my head. It was like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do with your life, Nicole. Like, this is it. This is the thing that you're born to do, and you will just love, and you will just continue doing for as long as you possibly can.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think that it's awesome, all of the stuff that I've just seen from your social media posts and everything that you're putting out there. It's really inspiring. I was
Thank you.
wondering, so when it comes to different choices for hikers and different tools that they could use for their tool belt, what are certain things that you would say to them as far as okay, I'm going out on my first hike. What are certain things that I should use for safety? What are certain, tools that I can use if I come across someone who I don't feel comfortable with?
Great question. So before you are going to go out on a hike, I'm going to cover first some basic, just like hiking safety, just in general, like not thinking of personal safety, but just hike safety. You want to make sure you've researched the trail you're going to do. You want to make sure you have a map either downloaded or with you. You want to make sure you have enough water. You want to make sure you have enough snacks. I always make sure that I bring a phone charger, a battery backup for my phone, just in case. I tend to carry a small emergency kit, no matter if I am doing a short day hike or a longer hike. Just in case, I like to be prepared. I carry a multi-tool, a Victorinox multi-tool that, I can cut line, I can, fashion wood if I need to light a fire, like in an
Yeah.
emergency, it has like tweezers if I get a bee sting. So I have a little multi-tool that I carry. I carry, a first aid kit. And I always make sure that I let someone know where I'm going and where I'm hiking. And that comes from the fact that I saw that movie, 127 Hours. And it's a true story. A guy goes for a hike and he doesn't tell anyone where he's going because he's done it a million times, and he falls into a crevice and gets his arm stuck, and he has to cut his arm off to escape.
I think that's why I didn't watch it.
Yeah, it's pretty graphic, and it burned in my head. Like, all right, no matter where I go, no matter how short, I'm always going to just let someone know, because, emergencies, accidents happen. That's why they're called accidents. And if I trip and fall down a ravine, I just want someone to know the general area to look for me if that happens.
And we had that happen actually last year, not somebody falling in a ravine, but we did have a woman who went missing in the Makawao State Forest, and then was found, I think it was 17 days later, but she had spent 17 days in the forest and survived. So that was really amazing. But she didn't have her phone. These are just different great tips to know, just because I know that for me, when I'm done with my work, it's like, okay, I want to unplug, but I know because of my self-defense training, okay, I'm going to take my phone with me, but other people might not want to. So just understanding that certain things are good to have. When it comes to this work, what are certain situations, stories, you don't have to share names, but what are certain scenarios that have come up for you that really impacted your work, that just maybe reaffirmed, this is why I'm doing this?
So I'm a survivor myself, and I so many people that teach self-defense I know are also survivors. And
Yep.
so whenever I hear someone's story and someone's experience, it just reinforces to me, it first causes me anger that we have to even learn this stuff. Like, I can't wait until we live in a world where there's no violence and where we don't need to learn this stuff because there's nobody committing these violent acts. There's no more criminals. But until that day, until my last breath, I'm going to make sure that women know how to protect themselves against the violence that exists, because we can't stick our heads in the sand and pretend that violence doesn't exist, because it does. And there are people, of course, because everyone's entitled to their own opinion. There are people that think that, oh, if you teach self-defense, you're blaming survivors. And it's like, we don't want to avoid preparing for the possibility of violence by pretending that violence doesn't exist. And by teaching ourselves these skills, we are helping ourselves be prepared so that we can handle a variety of situations until the day comes when there is no more violence. So whenever I hear a story in the news or someone comes to me and shares a personal story to me, it just reinforces the fact even more of why I want to teach this. I want to teach this information so that there are no more survivors. I want to teach this information so any predator that's out there that would even think about assaulting someone would think twice, because they know they were going to get their butts kicked if they did, and that they wouldn't be able to complete whatever attack it was. I want there to, I know it's going to take a multidisciplinary approach to get there. You know, we need people working on the laws. We need people working on incarceration. We need people working on educating investigators on how to interview survivors after an assault. We need to work on so many different areas of things to help keep people safe. We need to get consent education and self-defense in at younger ages, you know,
Yes.
teaching them elementary
Yeah.
schools, get that information to them early, start teaching kids at a young age that their body belongs to them, give them full autonomy. You know, a sad fact is that, 80 to 84% of women were assaulted under the age of 25. And 88% of men were assaulted when they were under the age of 25. So it's a lot of the times it's happening when people are very, very young. And if we can help get education to younger folks while also increasing, you know, penalties for people who are convicted, and making, helping survivors get help that they need and more access to resources and things like that. Like, there's so many levels to attack the problem of sexual violence. And I feel like what I'm doing with self-defense, it's helping with the prevention aspect, because if I can help empower someone to not even be someone that an attacker would target, because they carry themselves with confidence and they're speaking up for themselves and they fight, if that's what they choose to do in a situation and they know they can, they might be able to prevent something. But it's also healing as well, because there are survivors who take self-defense after the fact and discover their power, and helps them rewrite their story. And that can be helping and their healing journey. So it's two different things that I feel like I'm able to do with this. And while I'm doing this, then there's other experts going and attacking things from other multiple angles. And it's all of us working together that's really going to put an end to this. That's going to put an end to violence.
Yes. No, absolutely. I think that it is very important to highlight that aspect, that there's multiple ways of doing this work, and having that freedom to be able to express it in different ways, because certain people will resonate with your way of doing things or your teaching style. So that I appreciate you for saying that. One of the aspects that was coming as you were explaining is, I was thinking about how right now in a lot of different countries, domestic violence is up 30%. Some places more, some places less, but it's up a lot higher because of quarantine, because we're in the middle of a pandemic, because anxiety and stress are so high, and a lot of other reasons as well. What are certain things that you would recommend to someone who believes that someone they know is dealing with domestic violence? Is there something that you would recommend them saying? Are there things that you would not recommend them saying?
That's a tough one. I've had friends in domestic violence situations, and I remember there was one time I was in high school, and there was a situation with a friend, and I was 15. I didn't know how to handle the situation. And looking back on it now, I feel like I should have done more. I could have done more, but so much about when you're talking to a survivor or someone who is experiencing interpersonal violence or domestic violence is coming from a victim-centered perspective. Like, you have to do what they want to do, because if you try to just take over and say, well, you should do this and you should do this, you should do this, you're taking control away from them again in another way.
Yes.
And so one of the main things you can do is just let them know that you are there for them. Ask them if they're okay. Maybe even, you know, call it out, say like, look, here's what I see. I'm concerned for you. Is there something I can do to help you? Or if you know the domestic violence hotline number, or you have, you know, a local victim advocacy resource, anything like that. There's so many national hotlines that you can contact as well. But giving them the resources, sending them the websites, writing it down on a piece of paper, or, you know, having them come over to your house where there's no risk that, you know, the abuser can look at their computer, and showing them what resources are available, and just offering your help. I think that's the best thing you can do, is just to let them know that they're not alone, that you're there for them, and ask them if you can help them. And it's so hard. It's so hard when you're the friend and you see your friend going through something, and you really have to wait until they're ready to get help.
Yes.
You really just have to wait until they're ready. And all you can do is just continue to be there and be their friend and support them and offer to help.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing. I think that I just wanted to highlight that, just because right now domestic violence is so high, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there who are worried about a friend or concerned, or something along those lines. And another thing that I'm pivoting, just as an FYI.
Okay.
So another thing that's happening right now, and it relates to the hiking, is that there are a lot of fires going on everywhere. Now more than ever, on top of the self-defense, safety is so important. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? I mean, I know that you're also in California, so you're dealing with fires.
Yeah. So like, are you interested in like fire safety type things? Or I wasn't quite sure what you wanted me to share about, like how to hike safely and when it's fire danger. I'm just not quite sure.
Oh, yes. No, thank you. Sorry. So just when it comes to if you are thinking of going out, and you had spoken about just going out and doing walks, you know, in town, instead of doing walks and hiking up in
Got
the
it.
mountains as an alternative. So just looking at that, and a lot of the work that you do, I think that it's great because it doesn't necessarily just mean that you're up hiking in the mountains somewhere. It's something that works for everyday life. If you are walking around and you decide, well, I can't go hiking in the mountains, I want to still go out and still get exercise and be in the great outdoors. So I was just going to put it out.
Got it. I understand now. I understand.
Sorry, it was a leading question, and it didn't lead the right direction. It kind of went off in a different. Yeah.
That's why communication is so important.
Yes.
So you ask if you're unclear. There you go. This is a great learning experience,
That's
right?
it.
For all of our viewers.
Yeah.
So yes, there are a lot of fires happening right now. I'm in LA, so we're pretty much surrounded by places that are on fire, and it's devastating because people are losing their lives, their houses, the natural spaces that we're losing. You know, these are places I've hiked regularly, and to know that there's so much damage occurring is just really heartbreaking. For people who still want to get out and get some exercise, because exercise is important and it helps our well-being in many different ways. If the air quality is good enough where you're going, or you feel comfortable going out, depending on, you know, where you're at. I just walk in my neighborhood. Like I just go out. I usually walk at night because it's really hot during the day in LA. So I walk at night. And people will tell me, oh, you shouldn't walk at night. It's so dangerous. And here's the thing. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to do what I want to do. Self-defense helps me make my world bigger, but I don't go out looking for danger. Right? So I am not going to hike at night in the scariest neighborhood in LA. That's not what I'm going to do. I know my neighborhood, and just because I know my neighborhood doesn't necessarily guarantee that I'm safe. Neither does hiking during the day. Doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're safe. I had a family member that was mugged during the day, right in the middle of the day with people just down the street. So violence can happen anywhere. There's no guarantee to safety. Self-defense is about helping you manage your safety, make the best decisions you can with the information that we have. So I go out and I just walk in the neighborhood. And when you're doing an urban hike versus a hike like in the outdoors, you like in the mountains, I mean, like in a naturey kind of area away from people, you're aware of different things. So there's usually more people around, and you have cars, there's traffic patterns, there's bicyclists, there's people walking their dogs, there's cars going in and out of driveways. There's a lot of things to kind of be aware of. And I know when COVID first started and we were in quarantine and I started going on walks in the neighborhood, I just started being more aware of things like, listening for cars. A lot of times I would cut into the street because you're trying to keep 6 feet away from people walking on the sidewalk. Yep. And so you're kind of like, who's going to move? Okay, I'll move. And you have this kind of conversation, which is something you didn't used to do before. So all of these things that are heightening your situational awareness, and having situational awareness is so key to self-defense, no matter where you are, no matter if you're hiking or you're traveling or you're just going to the store, just noticing things that are around you. So just being willing to pay attention to those things. And if something feels off, trust that feeling. I have been on a walk where I came to a place where I was going to turn and I'm like, kept going straight or turned around. I don't know what was triggering my intuition, but I'm here. And that's what it's all about, is trusting that feeling. We may not know why our intuition is sending us a message, but if we trust our body is trying to protect us from danger, it could have been nothing, but it could have been something. So giving yourself permission to trust your body, trust yourself, and that if you need to turn around, there's no shame in that. There's no shame at all. If you decide you're going to go on a 5-mile hike and you start feeling weird at mile 2 because of the person walking behind you or the person in front of you, or you cut, whatever it is, turn around and go back, or stop, or take a different way. There's nothing wrong with you changing your behaviors how you need to feel safe. I've turned on a hike before where I was like, something just doesn't feel right today. And I turned around, and using all of your senses, like I hike. I don't hike with headphones anymore because I like to hear nature. Like that's part of my meditation, is to hear nature. But if you are going to hike with headphones, my recommendation is to keep whatever you're listening to low enough to where you can still hear, because you want to know if there's a rattlesnake rattling up on the trail ahead of you.
That's good to know.
Or you want to know if someone is all of a sudden trying to run up on you from behind to take you by surprise. Like, I want to know if I hear footsteps. Oh, it's a trail runner. Cool. I'm going to get out of their way because maybe I don't want to be the jerk that's like taking up the whole trail when a trail runner's coming. It could be nothing, or it could be something. And then also when I'm out for walks or for runs in my neighborhood, I tend to wear headphones because I like to listen to music, but I keep the music down low enough to where I can still hear things around. But here's the thing. Even if you weren't wearing headphones, say you didn't wear any headphones at all, you weren't listening to any music, can we still get lost in thoughts sometimes?
All the time. Yes. Yes.
So just because you just because you're like, oh yeah, I'm not listening to any music, that means that now I'm going to be safe because I can hear anything. But all of a sudden you start thinking about what you have to do next day. And then pretty soon you've run half a mile and you're like, wait, how did I get here? Because I wasn't paying attention. So it's just important to make sure you keep your awareness up no matter what, because we just want to know what's going on. And it's not a hypervigilance type of awareness. It's not like, every second, like on high alert type of a thing. Cause I don't want to live in that world where that's where I have to be. And I don't teach people to do that. I just teach them to just take in what's around you. Give yourself permission to be present. And when you notice something, allow yourself to say, okay, I noticed this, instead of saying, oh, that's nothing. Oh, that really can't be happening. Or that really can't. No, realize that that's what's happening.
Yeah. I talk to my students. I had a recent student who was talking to me about an interaction that she had at a grocery store, and she realized that most of the time she's just staring down at her 2-year-old. And so one of the suggestions that I made was that, every 10 seconds, every 15 seconds or so, just look up. So the whole piece you don't have to look up in a panic and think you have to be hyper vigilant, but it does take time, and it's like anything else. I think that self-defense is like any sport or yoga instruction. The more that you practice, the better you'll do. It's like any muscle. The more that you work it, the better it's going to be. So if you start out and it feels like, oh man, I'm always looking up, eventually you're going to get to a point where it's just natural. You look around and then you keep on going with what you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that you said that, because self-defense is more than just the physical. So many people only think of self-defense and they're like, oh, it means hitting
Yes.
people. It's like, no, it's all of it. It's more so the other things, because most people who learn self-defense never have to use the physical skills, because
Yes.
they walk with more confidence. They're more willing to speak up for themselves. They're more likely to avoid a physical confrontation because of those skills. So that's what you're going to use most often. The awareness, the intuition, the verbal skills, all of those are life skills that help you as you go about and just live. And then you learn the physical skills as well, because I feel like we can all benefit from learning the basics of how to defend ourselves in an emergency.
Yeah.
It's like, I would rather know how to use it and then never have to use it than to need to know how to use it and then have, my brain click like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And that's actually what got me into self-defense. Was I was dating a guy, and we were play wrestling in my apartment, and he pinned me to the ground and I couldn't get out of it. And even though we were just playing, my brain just went off. Like, you know what, Nicole, if this was real, what would you do? Like, you don't know. And I was like, you know what, brain? I don't know. And I don't like not knowing how to do something. So I'm going to learn. And that's kind of what got me started being interested in self-defense, and took my first classes and things like that. And then when I got involved with Girls Life Back and Impact, I learned so much more about the verbal and how important the verbal is. So much about self-defense are things you actually can practice every day. You can practice setting boundaries. You can practice, like you said, every 10 seconds looking up and just making it a habit of just noticing it. Make it a habit of, instead of saying I'm sorry to someone, to just assert your boundaries and just let it be that. These are things that we can practice, not just with strangers, but with the people that we're around most often.
Yeah.
Because we have that opportunity to practice. And a sad fact, as I'm sure you know, 86% of the time we are assaulted by someone we know. It's not a stranger.
It's anywhere between 85 to 90. Yeah, it's super high. And one of the other statistics from ESD Global that I really love that's very telling is, 75% of people get out of physical confrontation, avoid physical confrontations through verbal communication in the feel out stage. So, the feel out stage, you're not kicking someone, you're not punching, it's not a double axe kick, even
though those are fun.
Even though those are
fun to practice.
I'm just like, what? But those tools, what you're talking about, are so important, because it's the boundary setting, it's the listening to your intuition, it's speaking up, it's running away, it's all of these things that you might never have to lift a finger.
Yes.
And so that's what's so key.
So key. And I love what you said, run away. We need to, I know in ESD and Impact and Girls Like That, we all, kind of teach it. If you can get to safety, get to safety. That's self-defense 101. I am not going to posture and purposely try to get myself into a fight. Self-defense is not knowing this so that we can purposely put ourselves in danger. A big part of it is helping us recognize danger so we can avoid it. Because the best fight is the one you don't have to fight.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's really interesting to have these discussions, especially with another woman, because it's like, yay, you get it. Because I have had discussions with men who are martial artists and everything, and there's sort of this set way, and it is this thought of oh, you need to be teaching physical moves. And especially with COVID in the middle of a pandemic, a lot of the stuff that we're teaching online, it is evolving around verbal skills. There is the physical aspect to it. But I think that it is really important to just highlight the fact that self-defense is so much more than physical. And in order to get really good, very rounded. I love that you studied so many different aspects. It wasn't just straight up impact, or it wasn't just one thing. Um, for me, it was Japanese martial arts and Tai Chi, and um, Jeff Alexander, who taught Sylvester Stallone for Rocky. I did a training with him, which was really cool. And then I had ESD, and next it'll be Impact. Uh, um, but yeah, I love that you have this wide array of things that you have in your tool belt, because I know that that just helps the people who get to work with you. And along with that, I just wanted to see, you have some different things coming up. I really would like people to know about them. If you could just share, and also share, where people can find this information. How do they find you?
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram. My handle is Adventures of Nik, and it's Nik, Adventures of Nik. Also, Girls Fight Back and Students Fight Back. Also, Impact Personal Safety, because I'm an instructor for them too. So of course I'm going to plug them. Impact Personal Safety. You can also find me pardon me, my brain is not working so great right now.
Okay.
You can find me on Facebook. Girls Fight Back has a Facebook page, and we have a website, girlsfightback.com, as well as Impact Personal Safety. And coming up, the most exciting thing that I have is the Women's Self-Defense Summit, which is the first Women's Self-Defense Summit. It's being organized by a woman named Kinko Hamilton, who's also a self-defense instructor. And she wanted to bring together 26 self-defense experts for this summit to talk about a wide variety of topics regarding personal safety for women. And my topic is going to be safety in the outdoors, how to, get out there and hike confidently and explore confidently with some self-defense skills. And that is going to be September 28th to 30th. It's a free summit. You just need to register. You can go to any of my social media pages, the links in my bio, to register, and it's free, and you can watch all 26 experts. There's certain experts speaking on each day, and each day you can listen to those experts, and then you can listen to them for 24 hours. And if you want to listen to everyone, or say you're missing a day, or you want the additional interview content, you can purchase an all access pass, and then you get lifetime access to all the interviews anytime you want, and all the additional content. So
Awesome.
a lot of options.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. And do you have a website as well?
I do, girlsfightback.com.
Sweet. Okay.
Yep.
So if you are watching, first subscribe, and then also go to her pages and follow, because I know that you also have a lot of safety tools and choices that are available on your websites and on your social media pages. Thank you so much.
Oh, I forgot to
ahead.
add, I have a YouTube channel too. I have a YouTube channel. Nicole
to
Snell.
That one too.
Yeah, Nicole Snell, and it's Outdoor Defense. I have all my Outdoor Defense episodes on IGTV as well as on YouTube. So subscribe, comment, like, share, you know the drill, all that stuff.
Yay. Okay. So definitely you have 2 places you need to subscribe now.
Yes.
Yes. And we will be back with more. So stay tuned for up and coming events. And Nik, we'll have to get you back on here later, to follow up with everything.
I would love to. Thank you so much for having me. This is so lovely.
Thank you. Take care.